Greetings, friends. I took a look at the Paris Hilton documentary, and I would recommend it. I have always, what little I have seen of her, I've always liked her. I like her dry sense of humor. I love the simple life. The first season was very funny, and I think what I relate to about her is having something stolen in your youth that you kind of wrestle with it, or you feel that lost for the rest of your days. The mother, when the documentary gets to the point where she has exposed the abuse that went on at this boarding school, the mother says, well, if we had known anything about it, we'd have been there in an instant. But it's where you sent her in Utah, where I believe they can get away with things that they can't in other states because of some laws or something. And as far as, people thinking that she's some kind of ditz, she has 19 different products that are part of her brand, and her fragrances have done $1 billion in sales. So yeah, she's not exactly an airhead. Just skipping ahead to the salient parts of this stuff about the Provo school. Elaborating on torture, she said, I think it was their goal to break us down, and they were physically abusive, hitting and strangling us. They wanted to instill fear in the kids so we'd be too scared to disobey them. 3 of Hilton's classmates who have appeared in the documentary made similar allegations against Provo Canyon School. They alleged that they were often force-fed medication and held down by restraints as punishment. Paris mentioned that she was put in solitary confinement after the school learned that she was trying to escape. The fear in her continued, making her feel like a prisoner. I was having panic attacks and crying every single day. I was just so miserable. I felt like a prisoner and I hated life. She also mentioned that attempts to tell her parents failed, partly due to the school's interference. I didn't really get to speak to my family. When I tried to tell them once, I got in so much trouble I was scared to say it again. They would grab the phone or rip up letters I wrote telling me no one is going to believe you. And the staff would tell the parents that the kids were lying. So my parents had no idea what was going on. In 1999, she left the school and returned to New York, but was terrified to speak up against abuse as she was ashamed of opening up about it. It is after 20 years that Hilton has had the chance to open up about the school trauma by filming a documentary based on her life. Hoping to move on. It feels like my nightmare is over, she said, and I'm going to watch the movie with my parents. I think it will be good for us, but emotional too. There are no more secrets. Hilton has mentioned that right now she has no plans to pursue legal justice and would rather devote time to spread awareness of regarding such behavioral schools that promote physical and verbal abuse. I want these places to shut down. I want them to be held accountable, and I want to be a voice for children and now adults everywhere who have had similar experiences. I want it to stop for good, and I will do whatever I can to make it happen. She was quoted as saying, when people reached the school for comments on the allegations, it responded by saying, originally opened up in 1971, Provo Canyon School was sold by its previous ownership in August of 2000. We therefore cannot comment on the operations or patient experience prior to this time. Utah's residential schools mired in controversies. At the end of this last paragraph, despite the legislation, there have been a dozen deaths in Utah's residential schools alone, where the plea to stop the abuse of children in treatment centers has gained momentum. Well, gee, that's great that it's gained momentum, but yeah, the whole psychological field is not really what people might actually think it's supposed to be on the surface to begin with. So it's obvious that so-called treatment centers, boarding schools they're not exactly building up the individual with positivity and strength the way it should be. It just reinforces the rebellion in kids if it doesn't do worse.